Bhagavath Katha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namini. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namini. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Please everybody tell along with me loudly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I pay my obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. I express all my gratitude and many praises to Srila Prabhupada for giving all of us a golden opportunity to go back to Godhead. All goes to Srila Prabhupada for his wonderful devotional services to Srimati Radharani and Lord Gopinath. Please tell loudly. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Hare Krishna. We are doing Bhagavath Katha. We are in the first canto, chapter 5, verse 32. I shall tell the verse slowly 3 times. Please repeat with me and later I do the narration. Etat samuschitam brahmam sa tapa traya chikshitam yad ishvare bhagavati karma brahmani bhavitam etat brahmam sa tapa traya chikshitam yad ishvare bhagavati arma brahmani bhavitam etat samustitam brahmam sa tapa traya chikshitam yad ishvare bhagavati karma brahmani bhavitam etat samustitam brahmam sa tapa traya chikshitam yad ishvare bhagavati karma brahmani bhavitam. The word-to-word meaning of this verse is etat, this much, samustitam, decided by the learned Brahman, O Brahmana, Vyasa, tapatraya, 3 kinds of miseries, chikisitam, remedial measures, yet what? Ishvare, the supreme controller, Bhagavati, unto the personality of Godhead, karma, one's prescribed activities, Brahmani, unto the great, Bhavitam, dedicated. Sri Narada Maharshi, who is advising Sri Vysadeva Maharshi in compilation of the Bhagavatam, he is addressing to Vysadeva, O Brahmana Vysadeva, it is decided by the learned that the best remedial measure of removing all troubles and miseries is to dedicate one's activities to the service of the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. See, Narada Muni personally experienced that the most feasible and practical way to open the path of salvation or get relief from all miseries of life to hear submissively the transcendental activities of the Lord from the right and bona fide sources. One should understand we should always approach a bona fide spiritual master, because earlier we have taken many births as various different living beings, not only as human beings. Maybe we have taken as human beings also, but it is this human body has come out of very great trouble, out of kindness of God and His sympathy. We could get this birth as human being with intelligence. So, and we are supposed to follow the instructions given by the Supreme Lord, which is coming in succession along with the Acharyas. That is, we should be very careful that the Acharyas whom we approach shall be an absolute Acharya who is following the proper Puranas, epics, Vedas, etc. Because in this Kali Yuga time, there are many fake Acharyas who, for the purpose of their selfishness, lead us in a wrong path. So we need to be very careful while selecting our Acharya. He should be a bona fide source. And why we need to have absolute bona fide spiritual master is because we have taken many births, and this is like a life cycle. It is a cycle. Birth after birth will be taking. We need to get out of this one. Otherwise, whatever happiness or sufferings we are experiencing in this present life, also we have experienced the same thing in our earlier lives of animals. So, this eating, mating, sleeping, all these things are common in all living beings. We human beings are doing, but all these things are temporary. The happiness is also temporary, suffering is also temporary. To get out of this birth and death cycle, one need to achieve salvation, which should be an ultimate goal in our life. And this whatever happiness and sufferings are there, it's only because of the materialistic attachment through this nature, that we should have detachment. We should get rid of all these attachments. For that one, the only way is we need to approach a bona fide Acharya. Also, we can not only will be renunciating all our desires, everything. Renunciation means it's not that we will not have desires. We will have desires, but those desires, whether it is fulfilled or not fulfilled, one should be happy. We should always think it has happened for our good. This is the only remedial process. The entire material existence is full of miseries. We think that we are happy, happiness will continue throughout life. Never, it will never continue. Happiness will be continued by sufferings. Again, suffering will, it's a cycle, like birth cycle, the suffering and happiness also cycle. And it's only temporary. Maybe it could be only for few hours or few days or few years. But it will not be there continuously throughout our life. All these are miseries. With the happiness is also a type of misery only, which leads to a different type of suffering. Foolish people have manufactured out of their tiny brains many remedial measures for removing the threefold miseries pertaining to the body and mind, pertaining to the natural disturbances and relationship to the other living beings. So there are many fake people. Many, not only acharyas, even the atheists and even the theists also for neophytes, having half knowledge in the absolute truth. They lead us in a different way so that we will never come out of this threefold miseries. They show us that if you do some of the followings, we could overcome the miseries, but it will never happen. The whole world is struggling with very hard to exist out of these miseries. Everybody is trying to get out of these miseries, but no one is away from these miseries. One way or the other, they are bounded by these miseries, and it is a continuous process. But men do not know that without the sanction of the Lord, no plan or no remedial measure can actually bring about the desired peace and tranquility. Here, until unless we have full faith in God and we surrender to Him, we will be having sins. It will be carried forward. It is carried forward, being carried forward from our last many lakhs of births. It is not just the sins are made only in this birth. It's coming throughout the other births also. But all these things can be, we can get rid of once we completely surrender. We should have fully confidence, and we should have full faith in the God and surrender to Him. Surrender to Him, and we need to execute all our karma. We should never stop our karma because it is our responsibility to complete the karma. Otherwise, we will be continuing the same birth cycle. So, in order to that one need to surrender to God and do the karma with leaving all the desires to the results of the desires to the God. The whole world is struggling very hard like that. So, the remedial measure to cure a patient by medical treatment is useless if it is not sanctioned by the Lord. There are many cases. We have some diseases, we go to the God, we go to the doctor and he would diagnose. He might do it a correct diagnosis, or maybe he will do an error in his diagnosis. He will be treating us. But that treatment may be a long-term treatment also. It may not be a short time for 3 days or 4 days, a week or a month. It might prolong to a year or 2 years or many years also. So, and sometimes if doctor performs the surgery also, if it becomes successful, doctor will boast of himself, praising himself that because he has done the surgery properly, that patient is alive. But again, once the patient anything goes wrong and patient dies, he says, I have done my best, but otherwise it is the God's God has not blessed him. They blame the God at that time. Like that. So until unless God has sanctioned, his approval is there, even a doctor cannot cure a patient successfully. We should know that, we should know for certain that the Lord is the ultimate sanctioning officer. Like if you go to some government department for taking some necessary sanctions, for example, building plan when it has to be sanctioned, when it will have its own process. You go and approach a clerk over there. Clerk cannot sanction it. He will send it to his IRR and they will be able to send IRR. Again it will go into some board meeting or committee meeting. There it has to be sanctioned. Again that sanction, board meeting sanctioned. Again some officer, senior officer will be the head of this department. He has to sign. Like that, here the ultimate sanctioning authority is the Lord. Lord is the ultimate sanctioning officer, and we must therefore dedicate our attempts to the mercy of the Lord for ultimate success, or to get rid of the obstacles on the path of success. We have to surrender to the God and just pray Him. Praying Him means it's a showing our affection to Him, bhakti, and He will leave the results to Him. When you do that, you will have a correct source for ultimate success and to get rid of the obstacles on path to success. The Lord is all-pervading. He is just not here in the temple or in our some puja mandir in our home. He is all over pervading. He is everywhere. Because of this vision, you can't see Him, you can't say God is not there. God is everywhere. The God is all-pervading, all-powerful, omniscient and omniscient also. Omnipresent. He is the ultimate sanctioning agent of all good and bad effects. We should therefore learn to dedicate our activities unto the mercy of the Lord and accept Him either as an impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In 3 ways we can accept it. whether it is impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Does not matter what one is. Because he is all spreading, all over pervading, you need not be concerned about the form of his form. If one is learned, scholar, scientist, philosopher, poet, etc., then he should employ his learning to establish the supremacy of the Lord. Everyone's duty is to perform the duty, not to neglect. So, like that, even the scientist, philosopher, scholar, poet, they should try to put their knowledge in realizing the God as well as spreading about the God in proper form. If one is, then he should employ his learn to establish the supremacy of the Lord. Try to study the energy of the Lord in every sphere. Do not decry him and try to become like him or take his position simply by fragmental occupation of some knowledge. Here, that is what I am telling you to. If a doctor, if he operates upon and is successful, he goes off himself. Supposing if something goes wrong and that patient dies, that God will, doctor will put the blame on the God. He says God has not blessed, that is the reason. Like that we cannot decry on the God. We shouldn't decry. And also we should never employ the learning to establish the supremacy of the Lord. And we should not take simply a fragmental of whatever knowledge, little knowledge we are having, we should try to teach him about the God, but we should not tell that we ourselves are God. If one is an administrator, statesman, warrior, politician, etc., then one should try to establish the Lord's supremacy to his statesmanship. Fight for the cause of the Lord, as Sri Arjuna did in the beginning. Sri Arjuna, the great fighter, declined to fight. But when he was convinced by the Lord that the fighting was necessary to save the Dharma, Arjuna changed his decision and fought for his cause. Similarly, one is a businessman, an industrialist or agriculture, etc., then one should spend his hard-earned money for the cause of the Lord. Think always that the money which is accumulated is the wealth of the Lord. Wealth is considered to be the goddess of fortune, that is Lakshmi Devi, Mahalakshmi, and the Lord is Narayana. Here Nara means it is all living beings. All living beings, and the Ayana is dependent. All the living beings are dependent upon whom? The God. So God is called as Narayana, who is the husband of Lakshmi. Try to engage Lakshmi in the service of Lord Narayana and be happy. That is the way to realize the Lord in every sphere. We have to spend our wealth in a proper way. When you do the charity also, when it is going for a bona fide use for dharmic purpose, then only you need to make the charity. Otherwise, if you give some donation to some old age homes or such any other who are doing some service to people, but if they are doing in a correct way, if you make the charity to them, it's fine. But otherwise, just to show off, they are doing the service, and otherwise they are misutilizing all the funds what they are receiving as donations, they are committing many sins. Then if to such person if you make a donation, we will be partners in their sins. So while doing help also, you should know that it is properly utilized. But in the case of absence of such an opportunity, one should try to engage in the service of Lord, everything for which one has specific attraction, and that is a way of peace and prosperity. The word samustitam in this stanza is also significant. One should not think for a moment that the realization of Narada was childish imagination only. Because in the previous birth, he was the son of a servant, maid servant, who are in the service of sages. Like our maid servants doing services at our home, like grooming, washing and all those things. Similarly, Narada Maharshi, in his previous birth, he was a servant maid's son. And we should not imagine that as a foolish thing. It is not like that. It is so realized by the expert and erudite scholars, and that is the real import of the word samsitam. We shall go with the 33rd verse now. I shall repeat the verse 3 times slowly. Please repeat with me. Thereafter, I shall do the narration. Amayo yes cha bhutanam jayate yena suvarta tat eva hi amayam dravyam na punati chitsitam amayo yascha bhutanam jayate yena suvrata tat eva hi amayam dravyam na punati chitsitam amayo yascha bhutanam jayate yena suvrata tat eva hi amayam dravyam na punati chitsitam amayo yascha bhutanam jayate yena suvrata tat eva hi amayam dravyam na punati chitsitam. The word-to-word meaning of this verse: amayam, diseases, amayaha, diseases, yaha, cha, whatever, bhutanam, of the living being, jayate, become possible, yena, by the agency, suvrata, O good soul, tat, that, eva, very, he, certainly, amayam, disease, dravyam, thing, na, does it not, punati, cure, chitsitam, treated with. Narada is telling Vyasadeva, O good soul, does not a thing applied therapeutically cure a disease which was caused by that very same thing. An expert physician treats his patient with a therapeutic diet because he makes lot of regulations while prescribing the medicines. He also makes lot of regulation in the diet. If he simply does the regulations of diet without giving any medicines, then patient will not accept it. He will not have any trust in it. So for that reason, he would give some medicines also to satisfy the patient, as well as also he would regulate the diet of the person. For example, milk preparation sometimes cause disorder in the bowels. But the very same milk converted into curd and mixed with some other remedial ingredients cures such disorders. Similarly, the threefold miseries of material existence cannot be mitigated simply by material activities. Such activities have to be spiritualized. Just as by fire, iron is made red hot, and thereby the action of fire begins. Similarly, the material conception of a thing is at once changed as soon as it is put into the service of Lord. That is the secret of spiritual success. We should not try to lord it over the material nature, nor should we reject material things. If we are possessing some wealth, that we should not think we are the owners of that wealth and should not lord it over. But otherwise, we cannot reject that wealth also as a material thing. It has to put in proper order. It should be properly spent or shared with others for its proper use. The best way is to make the best use of it. Bad bargain is to use everything in relation to the supreme spiritual being. Everything is an emanation from the supreme spirit, and by his inconceivable power, he can convert spirit into matter and matter into spirit. Therefore, a material thing is so-called is at once turned into a spiritual force by the great will of the Lord. The necessary condition for such a thing is to employ so-called matter in the service of the spirit. That is the way to treat our material diseases and elevate ourselves to the spiritual plane where there is no misery, no lamentation and no fear. When everything is thus employed in the service of the Lord, we can experience that there is nothing except the Lord Supreme Brahman. The Vedic mantra that everything is Brahman is thus realized by us. See, Narada Maharshi, who was in the service of the sages along with his mother, a maid servant during his previous birth, during the present form, he was a Muni by the incarnation itself. And he, right from his childhood, in this present birth, he was chanting the Hare Krishna, this Narayana mantra, wherever he was going. Even when he went to the place of demons also, or any evil kings, he used to say, take the name of Narayana only. Just like we tell good morning, good afternoon, he never says all such types of greeting. He only say Narayana, Narayana. Whether he is a demon or he is an atheist, whatever it is, he would only take Narayana's name, though that person is an enemy to the Narayana. This itself is a Om Namo Narayana is a Vedic mantra. It's an Ashtakshi Mahamantra. It has a lot of regulations. Even to meditate upon it, one should be very clean. He should sit in a clean and neat place, and his mind should be pure without any preoccupations or materialistic things, and he should not even take a water before meditation. Like that, the Vedic mantra is a Brahman. That itself, mantra itself is a Lord, Supreme Lord himself. So you can consider Supreme God in all the three forms. And take his name so that at the end of life we would remember him and go back to Godhead. That is, we attain the salvation and will never come back to this birth after birth. Otherwise, we do not know what type of birth we are going to take. It all depends upon the action, karma, whether we have done good karma or bad karma. If we have done bad karma, then we would go to hell or otherwise take birth as different animals and insects and suffer for that birth. Otherwise, if we have done some good deeds, we would go to higher planets, enjoy the punya, whatever we have in our account. As soon as this diminishes, exhausts, we would be back again on this earth, taking birth in a different way. That all depends upon the what type of sin or good we are having balance have. So, to avoid that one, we need to achieve salvation. For this purpose, we need to remember God. And the easy way is, see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, about 600 years ago, he has given us Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which has no regulations and conditions, and it can be chanted 24 hours our lifetime. While performing all your duties, just remember to chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra continuously. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed to chant on the bead which contains 108 this thing, bead chain. But otherwise, even without chain also you can do, but see that you properly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and make a practice that you will continue it. In case you are not started doing the chanting, you now immediately start chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra for at least 30 days. And you see how changes will take places in your life. Your mind will be very peaceful, as well as whatever desires you have, they will be successful one after the other. Like that. Also, once you practice that one, that will lead you to salvation at the end of our life. So now, before discussing for today, we shall chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra 10 times and disperse for today. Please tell loudly along with me. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vysadeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vysadeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Please tell loudly. Hare Krishna, loudly please. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Swasti Pradhyabhayantyam Nyayena Margena Mahimeshaha Gobharthostu Nityam Samasta Loka Sukhinobantu Kayena Vacha Manasendrivya Vidyapate Swabhavat Karomi Yajyat Parasmai Narayana Disarpayami Srimanarsan Sarvam Sikshtarvastu Mangalam 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 Nityada Mangalam Jai Sri Radha Raghunath ki Jai Sri Jagabada Suramai ki Jai Sri Nasim Bhagwan ki Jai Sri Prayag Maharaj ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai Sri Panchatattva ki Jai Sri Madhva Granth ki Jai Sri Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki Jai Sri Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna. This is recorded on YouTube channel. There are more than 380 videos. You can see anytime later. And there shall be Bhagavath Katha between Tuesday to Friday morning this time, and Tuesday, Wednesday in English. Tuesday, Wednesday in Hindi Mahabharata in the evening, and Thursdays Ramayana in Hindi. Hare Krishna.